All of those are amazing.
Call me if you want to know more. Living in this world where like I'm gonna land my dream job, like first job, like I'm gonna love every second. No, like a job is a job.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jasmine Naomi, and I am host of the Souly Human podcast. I'm a clinical social worker here in Southern California, and here on the Souly Human podcast, we talk about our shared human experiences, but also talk about our soul and what fills our soul and, what connects us to each other and the world around us. So I'm excited because I have a very good friend here with me today. So Angelica, Souly Human, Angelica.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
I've known Ange since the first grade, literally.
Yeah.
I was not one of the cool ones that showed up in kindergarten.
No.
I came late.
There's a select few.
There is a select few.
There's a bunch.
There is a bunch. I'm not in the bunch.
You're not.
Since the first grade. But Ange, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes. Ooh, I'm nervy. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Angelica. I am God-loving, what is that phrase? Amateur cook.
Yes.
TV enthusiast. Occasional athlete who values family and service. Yeah.
I love it. I would say, what's after amateur?
Start my YouTube channel?
In that case, you should definitely have a YouTube. She's actually a great cook. I had some pozole last week.
Yes.
Changed my life. The rest of the day gave me the fuel I needed to continue on while on shift. So, great cook here, guys. Absolute athlete, 100%. So I'm happy you're here. Sometimes I'm happy you're here. The cool thing, I think that, let me back it up. Let's see. Tell us where you're at right now in your journey.
Okay.
I know you're also a social worker. I know you're just done with school recently, but You've been a social worker since I've known you.
Honestly, out the womb.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much.
Anytime I talk to my mom, I'm like, you are an honorary social worker.
Really, though?
I think she was really a lot of the inspiration for me on like, what do I do with my life? I was like, can't be a doctor.
Same.
I'll save that for the TV. But yes, I am a social worker. Jasmine and I actually, we started the program together.
Yeah.
And then dipped, did our things.
Tell us where you dipped to, because it's not just dipped and then, she just went and did some really cool stuff, changed some lives and whatnot.
No. That's too much. So that year, I find it so, like, there's something so special to me about that year because a lot of us from the same class ended up leaving. Like, everyone went abroad, everyone did different things, or most people. And so I was in Bolivia, I was in South America at a boarding school / orphanage called Familia Feliz. And I was there for pretty much the school year, serving technically as a student missionary through La Sierra, but really it was, I'm like still processing. I think some of the things that I experienced, and I just met a lot of great people and got to know, I think in a really different level, who God was for me and in my life, because I feel like up until that point, I hadn't really experienced God in a way that I was like, oh, shoot, like, that was a direct answer to, I had, but it was just in a different lens, I feel, out there. But so that's what we did. That's what I did post
you
starting at La Sierra.
Yes, went to Bolivia.
Yes,
went
back to Tennessee right after that because
right.
I was not ready for
to be
for life here.
To be back here.
And then came back to La Sierra. Everyone I knew basically was gone. So I was just getting the books. luckily, I was so grateful. They had a cross country team here at La Sierra, so I was able to join that and create like a whole different community for myself here at La Sierra. And yeah, and then after graduation here, I was really torn because I hated the thought of only going to like Loma Linda, CBU, or like Azusa Pacific, because those were the options that were like really made for us here, right?
Yeah.
Like those were the paths that they had.
Yeah.
And all very clinical focused, which for me throughout my whole program here at La Sierra, I loved it. Loved it. Shout out. Shout out to the La Sierra social work program. I love it.
Same. I really did.
There was always this like feeling in my soul of like, I don't want to be a therapist. I don't think I'd be bad at it, and I wasn't. I wasn't. But it just wasn't my vibe. It wasn't like I met other social workers in the program, my MSW program. They were like die hard.
Yeah.
I love therapy, and I was like, love that for you.
For you.
Yep. And I'm like, I still am figuring out exactly where I fit with social work, where social work fits in my life. Like, so for me, it was and also so expensive.
Yeah.
Those programs were so expensive. And I was like, I can't do that right now. So I applied to a couple Cal States, and I feel very blessed that I was accepted to all the ones that I applied to. And luckily, Cal State San Bernardino, shout out, even though I was only there for a year.
but still, impacted intense year. That's one full year.
And thank God the tuition was way more in my ballpark, what I was able to manage. And yeah, so I ended up going there to complete my MSW at Cal State. And so at La Sierra, I spent a lot of time, or my internship was with early intervention and like families, working a lot with families of like preschool aged, and all about focusing on school readiness and parent involvement. So just like empowering parents to do their thing. And I was like really into that. That was fun for me. It was a home visitation program. So I was
I remember that.
on like in their family.
Yeah, you were going to see them.
And this was also around the pandemic, so things were wild. But at Cal State, actually, I was like praying because I was stressed. I was like, I don't know where to what to do for internship, because I really wanted to try something different.
Yeah.
My main thing was like medical. I want to do medical, but Cal State was really hard or really strict on like, I don't even know how their program exactly was. It all happened so fast, but they were like, I met the placement person and she's like, you know what? Like just getting to know you, like, and because it's 1 year, obviously they wanted it to be, if it was a 2-year program that I was in, then they were more okay with me trying medical with zero medical experience.
Right.
Because they didn't want to just send me in since it was just the 1 year. They're like, we want you to develop whatever skills you can, like with a deeper understanding, whatever. So we want to, like, she was like, I'd recommend you go to a school. You already have experience with the school system. And I was like, okay, but like, that's not what I wanted. I was like, my application does not say therapy. But I don't know, the lady, I really connected with her, and I feel like she really understood where I was at, and I felt like God was leading all of the steps in that place. So I was like, okay, Lord, like, so I ended up interviewing, and there was this like immediate connection with the mental health director at Colton that I was at. And like looking back, I'm still like, I felt God's presence every single day. And there wasn't a time where I didn't feel like, or that I didn't need him, or like was constantly like singing praise worship in my car, like praying, because I feel like throughout every session at Colton, I was a mental health therapist, school-based mental health therapist. And I was like, I'm way in over my head. Like,
Mm.
I'm like, this is Jasmine. I
I was one of those, am one of those die hard. I know I want to do therapy.
Yeah.
Funny, we'll come back to it. I think I'm done for now.
Yeah.
But so in that what's the word? At that time,
Mhm.
continue.
At that time, I might go back to therapy, but right now, no. So at that moment, like, I was like, I'm lost. Like,
Mm.
obviously, I think for me, social work is really just like people. So
Yeah.
it was really just like, okay, little people, let's do it.
Mhm.
I had clients from K-12,
Okay.
and some of them were like 18 and towered over me, and I was
Mhm.
like, hi, I'm your therapist.
I'm your therapist.
I know you don't want to be here. So
Let's start there.
yeah. I was like, I may not either.
I'm-
So
and here we
no.
are together.
But it was so great. It was great and horrible all at the same time. Like, I really felt like I was able to understand the need for me to like trust God in a completely different way, that He was, working in my life and guiding it and placing the people that I needed in my life at that time. My director there, I think, completely shaped my life. I hope, and I know not all, even to this day, not all of supervisors that I've had have been like that.
Yeah.
They're not all good. And I
No.
know, I think some of your earlier podcasts, you were talking about supervisors and what it takes and
Yeah.
what their role is.
Yeah. I'm glad that you had a good one for that time.
Yes, I had,
for
and in
real.
that moment, I was like, I would not have survived if supervision wasn't what it was, you know?
Yeah.
So shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just what I needed, I think, for me to really gain confidence in myself as a social worker and gain confidence as just a person who is worthy regardless of the degree and regardless of like my experience. Not that I mean, obviously experience helps, but I think just being who I am and being who, like, showing up as myself and with like lived experience and previous things that I had done in my previous like life, that just allowed me to show up and be. And I think I excelled in what I was doing at that time. And now I have a whole different view and lens on just working with individuals. And regardless of where I end up, I mean, I'm going to be working with individuals, you know? So I think just the experience that I had in that really has set a good foundation, I think, for me to be able to explore other areas of social work.
Yeah. Because it was such like a like a growing experience, it sounds like. And the therapy aside, it sounds like it was a big part of like your God relationship. Like,
Oh, yeah.
so how did you feel going into that compared to when you came out of it?
Oof. About like my relationship with God?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so I think, I mean, I've grown up in the faith, so for me, it was never a strange thing for me to be like, okay, like, prayer and incorporating God in my life in different ways. But I think it wasn't until, at least when I started the program, I was terrified, like terrified. And the good thing was in that is like, you had gone through a 1-year program, my cousin had gone through a program, other friends had gone through a 1-year program similarly. And so I was like, it's possible.
Yeah.
And so going into it, I was very much like, God, I am going into a non-SDA school, first of all, which is, I'm sure, going to come with its own conflicts for myself, whether or not I want to, participate on certain events or with certain events on days that, maybe I usually respect and like go to church and practice my religion. So I was a little weary of like what it was going to entail and what it was going to make me like evaluate on what I was going to sacrifice or not. So that aside, I was also like, there's no way I can do this without like prioritizing God and like in my life, because I believe that God has that ability, right, to like be what I need. And so going into it, I was pretty much like day one, like, let's do it. I feel like I had God like in my pocket. Because at the time that I started, there were some family things that had been going on, and I was like, I I remember sitting down at orientation for my internship, and I was like sobbing because
Oh
there was just
no.
like a lot of similar, conversations that were happening. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is happening at, with extended family. And I was like, okay, like this is me, God, I'm here for a reason, even though, I didn't want therapy.
Yeah.
So I'm here and I'm trusting and hating and like haciendo capricho. I don't know how to say that.
I don't
Like
know
a
how to say
tantrum,
that.
like a like I'm throwing a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
tantrum.
yeah.
I'm here throwing a tantrum, but still like showing up and like trusting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as I progressed in the program and in the setting that I was in, I only like needed God more, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think one thing for me that I still remember was I had a new client and everything in the referral was like everything that I didn't want to be checked off was checked off. Like they had this, they
Oh
had that,
no. Yeah.
SI,
Hmm.
like homicidal thoughts. And I was like,
Hmm.
come on. I was like,
All the risk factors,
every single
meeting every single
every
one.
single risk factor. And I was like, you're like 2 years old. Like, okay. And it
It's
was a new
wild.
school for me. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
wild.
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
and I was freaking out. So like driving to there, I'm like amping myself. Like I was on what is that? 90.1.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
on that station because my car didn't have aux.
Ooh, that was the go-to.
So I was just on that because I felt like I needed some peace
Yeah.
always throughout sessions and
Yeah.
drive-throughs.
Yeah.
And so I remember that particular time, like I went into the school and in the lobby as I checked in, it was like KSGN playing. And I was like, I choked up. Like I was like, okay, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was God's little like chill.
It's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Like
I'm here.
literally
I'm present. We're in this together. You're not
Yes.
alone.
Yes. And so I think now that I've finished and like had been reflecting on my program, my year, I really was like, no, like this year definitely I think pushed me closer to God and just like my relationship and trying to do that whole like practicing what I preach, like
Mhm.
I'm like saying I trust, but am I really trusting?
Yeah, yeah.
And like that kind of is where I'm at right now too.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is. You're definitely in a trusting phase right now,
Ugh.
too. Don't we love being in a phase of just existing and trusting
Oh
completely and
man.
having no idea what's happening?
Like not having control?
Super fun time.
Super.
Super great.
Yeah.
Tell us about this phase you're in now, which is I have no control whatsoever
Yeah.
and have to
So
sit in that and have to be with that.
yeah, so I'm currently applying for different jobs. I'm job hunting. I'm out in the fields. Um, I am, and the beauty in that though is I have the choice, like I have the option to not apply to positions that are
True.
therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Which are so many. There's
Let me
so
keep scrolling.
many. There's
Yeah,
so
dude.
many.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a therapist, there's
Hey.
so many jobs.
One Google search, you're in the clear.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So even in that, it's like, okay, trying to break down my skills and my experience and trying to find maybe unconventional social work jobs that I feel like I could still use the skills that I have and use the theories and use the modalities and use all of my academic experience and use it in a different setting. I think that maybe isn't what everyone always.
The conventional or
Yes.
traditional that maybe they don't say explicitly
Yeah.
social work,
Yeah.
but the role that it seems to be maybe is like the role of a social worker.
And I'm like, social work is everywhere.
It is everywhere.
And needs to be everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
You're working with people and understanding people and
Yes.
helping and just being of service. And so that's the beauty of it right now. Like there's so much unexpected, like so much opportunity, so much
Yeah.
like who know like I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna be. I don't know what
Yeah.
position, like what door is gonna open. And I'm here for the journey, the good and the
Mhm.
bad.
Mhm.
I was telling Jasmine that like a couple months I took some time off, first of
Mhm.
all. Like
Mhm.
let's not pretend that I've been
Much needed.
applying like every single day since graduation.
No, 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 no. Rested,
Yeah.
rebooted, hung
Yeah.
out.
And so I was telling her like there's like waves.
Mhm.
And I know and everybody around me who's gone through this situation and this experience has told me like just go with the waves because some days you're like
Yeah.
super positive about
Mhm.
like just opportunity.
So great,
I love just being in this place.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then there's days where it's like, okay, can you just accept me? Like,
Right.
can you just hire me?
Right.
I have
Mhm.
every qualification and
On
more.
here and more.
Like,
Mhm.
and then it gets really low.
Who am I? Why don't you want me?
Why did I pick this career?
What?
Should I go to culinary school?
Let me just forget all of this. Let me just take a completely different route.
Yeah.
I'm gonna head out.
It's not like I was in school forever.
No, 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 not at all.
Yeah, so there's good and bad days. As as life
Yep.
normally is for
Yep.
everyone. But I think there's also been a lot of beauty in like having that time off and being with family
Mhm.
and like tapping into those like cooking skills and like making lunches for my family and
Yeah.
contributing in different ways
Yeah.
and just showing up
Yeah.
in a different way and with a different mindset. I mean, we're walking.
Yes, yes. So I think I've mentioned the walking club a couple times, guys. This is one of our honorary members. The third and last is not here presently,
Right.
but shout out to S.
Shout out. Yeah. It's fun.
Yes, also in your job search, we're also counting on actually requiring a flexible work schedule.
I have to have my mornings available
Oh yeah,
for a walk.
have to have the mornings available at least from 7:30 to 9.
Yeah.
Ideally 9:30.
If
We
not,
don't want you rushing.
Can't take it. Can't take
not
the
an
job.
option. Not an option.
No, might be my dream job, but can't take it. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a dynamic experience. There's good, there's bad, there's like lulls of just like, am I feeling anything? Like
Hello?
numbness. But I remember Daphne, actually, one of your previous guests.
Yes. Love her.
Last year, she, her trust the process phrase. And I was like, I hate that phrase. I was like,
Same,
what,
dude. Same.
trust? What is the process?
How long is the process? What time does the process end?
I was like, can I leave, come back? And I even like made a bracelet about, because it was just like a reminder for me, as cliche and like broad as that is.
Yeah.
It really got me through that period of like, I wasn't where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, we started together and we went completely different paths. And I was like, just the societal pressure and like everyone around you, I was like, I'm still in my undergrad. Like, do I go to grad? I never wanted to go to grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, it was never a thing for me. So just being on a different journey than everyone else, even that in itself is like, girl, chill.
Yeah.
Like, chill. I thought I was going to be, I'm not even going to say it. As I hit the mic.
But watching everyone be like in one place and not being in that place.
Yeah.
Like
it can do some damage if you let it. And I've let it for sure. I have let it.
Same.
So it's just like bringing myself back to center.
Yes.
Yes. And just like, again, what I said earlier, like trusting in God, trusting that, he's saving whatever position, opening, or creating whatever it is that, I feel, or that he feels I'll be like a blessing, that I'll be able to use my skills and just thrive.
Yeah. Anytime I talk with her, that comes up at one point or another, because as broad as it is and how you hear it so often, It's really hard to do. It's almost applicable all the time,
Yeah.
And I think it was, I don't remember who I was talking to, but it's kind of just like trying to discern within myself, okay, at this point in time, I've done this, I've done that, so now let me just sit
Yeah.
and wait,
Yeah, yeah,
which I
yeah.
think as a human
Oh,
is the worst
horrible.
part. I'm like, I want to do this and get this
Yeah.
done because I can see it happening, or I feel like
Yeah.
I'm moving towards something. When it's like just trusting and being still and being present with God, and just that trust will really do a lot more sometimes than what I think I should be doing.
Yeah, because there's already been moments where I'm like, this job was made for me. Like, there's
Yeah.
no other
Yeah.
person in the world that can
Yeah.
fill it.
Mhm.
Like even the little like fine print, like I fit the fine print.
I'm in the fine print too.
My name is in there.
In the criteria and the
And I
fine
don't get it. So it's like one thing actually when you were talking just right now, one thing that came to my mind was this like devotional that my cousin had shared with me last 2 weekends ago at our Sabbath school program. And it was like try using the phrase like I trust you, God, with whatever situation that like comes up.
Okay.
And I was like, simple. I was like, easy.
Simple.
Reading it, right? I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then it just kept going on, like, because whatever it is that's happening to us, like, is going to be beneficial for us in some way. Like, God can shape things and, like, make things work for the good. And,
Yeah.
like, so just that little phrase of, like, okay, taking whatever situation, good or bad, and, like, changing that, like, mindset of, okay, I trust you, God. And that little thing or huge thing for me
Yeah.
is kind of this like mentality that I'm shifting towards of just like, okay, I trust you, God. Now what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think there are periods where I'm more connected than other periods. So I'll go through like seasons of feeling connected to God and spirit and, just within myself grounded.
yeah.
And then there are periods where I'm not. Definitely the periods where I am feeling more connected to myself and God are when that trusting I feel like comes a lot easier. Some days I'm like, it's all going to work out, and that's coming from a place of like trust within myself and trusting that anything that's about to happen, I know is a result of God.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not connected, that's when the anxiety kicks in. That's when the rage kicks in. That's when
by no means am I like, I'm anxious 24/7. I tell my mom all the time, like, I was born anxious. She's like, no, you were. Like,
that's what
some
Rashan
complications.
says. That's what Rashan says. That's also what my mom says about Rashan.
Like, by no means. Like, even right now, where as I'm saying, I'm like, wow, I sound like I have a great relationship with God. I don't. I struggle every day. Like,
but I'm sure it's like you said, it's grown and it continues to be a journey.
Yeah.
Like with all relationships.
Different seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So talking about God, what does God show up? How does God show up in your life? What does that relationship look like for you?
Woo, suddenly nerd. Like, did I go to theology school? Like,
in your experience.
Well, I think right now I'm showing up in a different way.
Okay.
Because I feel like God has always shown up, and I think I have chosen to like dismiss it or
Same.
not,
Been there.
or not actively engage. And so right now I feel like I have taken upon myself like a different responsibility within organized religion at church. I'm helping out with youth Sabbath school and with Pathfinders.
Nice.
Shout out.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm always
all the
like,
good shout outs today.
I'm always like, oh, Pathfinders, but like I was born into that. I can't even escape it. I really can't. So I'm helping out with that. And I think for me, that's the way that I'm showing up. And with our church food pantry. And I think for me, that feels, I don't know, like those are different ways and methods where I'm able to, I think, connect more with God, and just like it requires more intentionality on my end to just show up, because it's not just me and God. Like if I'm in those
Right.
positions, there's other people, and just more. You just got to be more intentional about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are the ways that I'm showing up
Okay.
in that or within that.
Did you at any point see yourself in the roles that you're in now?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because I feel like they just happen. Like it
Mhm.
was my parents have always been leaders
Mhm.
at church. They've always been in leadership roles, and so as I was growing up in the church, like I just found myself in positions of like leadership, and
Mhm.
then I left. Like there was a lot that happened, and a lot of us left the church. And so I think since then, it's been like a lot of trying to repair, trying to let go and like heal in order
Mhm.
to come back to church in a different way. And I think for me, I'm still very hesitant to come back in a like to actually be a leader, like
Yeah.
to show up, and like a leader in that sense to be like I'm actually required to go to the board meetings and like like official, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I haven't put myself in that position intentionally, because I think it wasn't until a couple, maybe like this past month, like my family and I were talking, and like with extended family also, we were like, you know what, like we're still hurt. Like I still am like holding on to this, like, or like my walls are super up with
Yeah.
like church and like
Yeah.
what can happen,
Mhm.
when things go south.
Mhm.
And so I think I'm like tiptoeing my way back into like at
Mhm.
least this type of leadership position.
Mhm.
But within that, like my parents, I said, like they've always been very active with church. And so one thing that I feel I was able to just kind of ease into was helping out with the like logistics and the execution of like our food pantry.
Mhm.
And for me, that was my step like back into, I feel like,
Okay.
church.
Okay.
Cause I was like, I don't have to show up to
Right.
Saturday.
Right.
I can still serve. Like I still feel like I'm, working alongside
Mhm.
God and like still serving in a different way, but I wasn't like needing to go be involved in that way. Like it was
Yeah.
like the underground, like
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
people don't show up, they never know that I'm involved with church,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So that was kind of so in that sense, like I feel like leadership or being in those positions has always just kind of been something that was instilled into
Yeah.
like just our values, I feel. Yeah,
Yeah.
as a family.
Mhm. And I think I think a few of us can relate to some type of hurt from
Right.
the church or from organized religion.
Mhm.
And I definitely at one point took some steps back, kind of in this at this point maneuvering like just my spirituality and how, what God,
Right.
how I and God are together, how he shows up.
Yeah.
But uh it sounds like you found a way to kind of like tiptoe in because
Mhm.
it sounds like it was important to you, but you
Yeah.
were hurt. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like you're actively still healing through that,
Mhm.
but still around. So how
Yeah.
does that feel?
Yeah, and I think, like, sometimes I think to myself and I'm like, "Gosh, like, why is this still affecting me?" Or, like, why
Mm,
or I'm like, "So annoying that
mhm.
it impacted my life that much."
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, "God, this is stupid."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
church is people. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't God, this isn't
Right, right,
Jesus,
right.
like,
Right, right.
it's each other who are,
Mhm.
like, hurting each
Mhm.
other,
Mhm.
but I think for me, I really valued, community and the
Okay.
community that I had within the church.
Mhm.
Like, growing up, I feel like I hung out with my church friends or, like, my church family friends more than my actual friends. Like, post school, I was at, like, Pathfinders throughout the week. Like,
Mhm.
I was that girl that was at church, like, Saturday, Wednesday night, Friday
Uh-huh.
night,
Uh-huh.
Saturday all day, like,
Mhm.
I just wanna go home, like
Mhm.
and so I just developed, like, some of the closest relationships I have to this day,
Yeah.
through that and, like, through that setting, and so when I was a little more distant from it, like, I felt that void.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that void. And it's just different
Mm-hmm.
because you could definitely be part of other communities, and I was and I am. But for me personally, there was just something about like the church community
Yeah.
and a lot of that, I feel like I grew up there. And so for me, I also think there's some like bravery and I don't even know another word for it right now, but just like being
Yeah,
able to
but
show
I
up.
do think it takes bravery,
Like it
right?
takes some guts to be able to show up despite like
Mm-hmm.
whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, but me being out or me not engaging with it, like it's never, not that I'm going to change the organization as a whole, but like
But
I'm able
to,
to,
mm-hmm.
contribute
Yeah,
something
yeah.
and maybe shape it or change maybe views or mindsets or
Mm-hmm.
just the way that things function.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I'm showing up in in different ways, with a lot of like a lot of resentment still, if we're
Mm-hmm.
being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm slowly trying to, work through that on my own
Yeah.
and with family and just, yeah, just showing up. I feel like I needed that community and I wanted it and I was looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps that like a couple of my other family members, like cousins, like they're also easing back in and like it
Yeah.
just like there's something so familiar and comfortable about it.
Yeah.
And there's also something so like the good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. It's never great. It's never gonna
Yeah.
be perfect.
Yeah.
Like I'm flawed. Everyone's flawed and we each
Right?
bring our own biases and
Yeah.
like yeah.
But it
So
sounds like I love that you were real enough to say that you're showing up even when
yeah.
sometimes feeling resentment or anger or whatever it is. Like you're showing up anyway, and that's the bravery, but
Mhm.
also trying to have like an impact, in your own way.
Yeah.
So I think that that's awesome. Especially because there's something special about that community,
Mhm.
it's I feel like it's a home away from home. It's a
It
family,
is. It really like for me it really is.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like I don't even want like I didn't want this community. But it does feel like home. It does. As much as it like irks me to say it. It's my own resentment coming through, my
Yes,
own insecurities,
it
but
happens.
yeah, it
There was
is.
something else Daphne told. What a wise woman she is.
Daph. Ah.
There's something else that she told me that was driving me crazy, was that she was basically saying that change happens in relationships.
Mhm.
And at work, I was just really struggling with these people, and it was infuriating me and it was hurting me in the process, right? Because I'm watching things happen a certain way and it's hurting me, it's hurting other people. And my first initial reaction was to be like, fine,
I'm out. Yeah, yeah.
okay, then do that. I don't want to be here, whatever, do it
Yeah.
on your own. And I think that's just my natural response. And so I was talking to her about it. She was like, I hear you. I hear you. I hear that it can be frustrating. She was like, but if you think about it, if there's going to be any change there with that person or with that program or with this relationship, it's going to be in the relationship that it happens,
Mhm.
introducing a new perspective or modeling a
The hard
different
part.
way of being. And I was like, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that idea. And I was just thinking about the amount of intentional grounding it was going to take for me to push through my pride to be able to
Oh my gosh.
have said conversation
Yeah.
or try and work with this person. So, but I think that when I heard her say that, I reflected on it for like a few weeks because I love this enough to try that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To show up even with the resentment that I have towards
Mhm.
you, acknowledge that this is coming from a different experience you had, or acknowledge from, whatever the reason. We all have our different
Yeah.
thoughts on things. So,
No,
that's it.
I can relate. I think you especially, I feel like sometimes when we talk about like things at work or like things that we're doing, we're like focused on the details, like all the things that were done that had to be done, all this other stuff. And sometimes it's like we get lost on like what the purpose was or what the mission is. And I was like, I had some humble pie. Like I ate the whole humble pie because we had this like church event, and I was like working, I was like logistics, getting it done, blah, blah, blah. Things were shifting, like things out of my control were changing. And I was just like, don't you guys get it? Like, all this work has been done. Like, I put in this work. Like, my ego was like the size of this building. Like, I was like, and I was talking to someone, a friend, and they were planning a very similar event. And they were like, how's it going? And I was like, I'm a little stressed. I was like, I'm a little stressed. And then they were like, but like, it's not your event, like it's God's event. And I was like,
oh, wow.
I felt like I got punched in the face. And I was like, you're right.
They're not wrong.
I was like, you're right.
Dang.
And so I think in that, sometimes when we're talking about your work too, like it's so easy to get like strung up on the what's going wrong, like everything else. And it's like, all right, what's the main purpose? Like, what's the focus? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? Like ego aside, what is it that we're trying to do?
Yeah. And I think when you were describing what you were, like how heavily reliant you were on God in that way in your internship, because you didn't really actually want to be there, but you were there. And so how you were just needing to be tapped in all the time.
Literally.
I think that's how I'm feeling, especially right now. I think I'm being pushed in a bunch of different directions by these kids and by these staff.
Admin.
Yeah. I almost, tell me why I almost on purpose smashed my head into this microphone.
No, like.
Yeah.
I get like angry when you talk about work. I'm like, ah.
And then God planted a seed, and I actually, in that moment, I got really happy. But he planted a seed, basically giving me a nudge to kind of reflect on what each of these kids is teaching me, because they are each giving me something different in their own personality, in their own experiences. And they each find a way to kind of shine a flashlight on what I would perceive to be some of the rockiest parts of myself, and they demand something different. They said, nope, you're not going to lose your shit on me today. You're going to be patient and you're going to be loving. And I think it's in those moments that I don't have it. And so being tapped in, that's when God shows up.
No,
because
literally.
there's no other way at that point without him present for me to do that. So I feel it.
I think even in that, like some of the conversations that you have with clients and like with your kids and that I had too, like I'm like, we finished and it's like, what did I even say? How did I say, like, how did we de-escalate?
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, wow, like that was not me. Like,
right. And it's when I see those assessments as well, where all the boxes are checked and they're like 9 years old. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm gearing up and the anxiety and the anticipation is just overwhelming.
Through the roof.
Right. But then when you're in it, you find a way, and, God is always present in those moments. So,
wow.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh my goodness. I'm like, who knew? Such spiritual people.
But I think that, like, I mean, we're trying. We're doing our best, right? As the human beings we are, we're trying our best. I'll definitely go long periods of time and gotta, start back up. But as is life, so are the seasons. So since you are anti-therapy at this point in time.
At this moment, today. Tomorrow may be different.
Tomorrow might be different.
In this point in time.
In this moment. What fills your soul that you're hoping to find a space that you can utilize to do that?
Oof, that's a good question. I think for me, it was difficult for me to answer that question, even in the program, because people are like, okay, so where do you want to go? Because it's like school, medical, or like therapy, right? Or like corrections or whatever.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm still figuring that out. And there's so much beauty in that, because I think, and circling back to what we said earlier about like the conventional versus unconventional, and I thank my mom a lot for just placing me and providing me with these opportunities and experiences with like community. and just community work, and working with, again, it is working with individuals just on a larger scale.
Yes. Yeah.
But actually right now I'm really looking into working with higher ed, working in higher ed.
Okay.
I kind of want to knock out all of the educational spaces. Like,
okay. All right. Let's do it.
I just want to, because I feel like thinking back and looking back at my experience in college, like, I feel like there was so much I needed and so much that people were able to provide and departments were, but there was also a lot that people weren't.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of great positions that I've been seeing in higher education, and they're developing new positions, focusing on, mental health of students. And it's not necessarily therapy that I'm providing, but it is like early intervention that I'm providing. Like, I have the job already.
Hey, we're manifesting.
Oh, God.
God's listening.
But yeah, I like the early intervention side as well, and just like education. Maybe I'll teach one day. But yeah, somewhere in community setting work. Maybe it is doing some nonprofit work as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
that
broad.
sounds fun.
It's broad.
That sounds like it would be really cool.
There's a lot. I'm excited and terrified and all of it. Anxious, everything.
I'm excited to, at whatever point you end up, wherever you are, it's going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool because you're being intentional, in your search. Like, you have been adamant. And you can be.
And I can be. I'm privileged to be in that position, right?
Yes.
Like, I definitely understand not everybody has that privilege to be able to, like, actively search for something that they want. And I know, like, I'm not like living in this world where, like, I'm gonna land my dream job, like, first job, like, I'm gonna love every second. No, like, a job is a job.
A job is a job.
A job is a job.
I would argue that even one's dream job is still a job, and therefore will, show up in different ways.
Exactly. So yeah, and I feel like every day changes. Like, I'm like looking, and as I'm looking, I'm like, okay, that actually sounds cool. Never thought I'd be into that. Yeah, so maybe I'll be in a hospital. Maybe I will be, I don't know, working somewhere where you never thought a social worker would be. And
stay tuned.
There I am.
It could go a lot of ways. That is also the beauty of being a social worker.
Yes.
Danny and I were talking about it when she was on here.
Yeah.
Because people still have, like, the misconception of social workers only being in certain spaces. When we're actually everywhere, guys. Catch us everywhere.
Everywhere.
School.
Everywhere.
Hospital. Jail.
That's it.
That's it, actually. That was it.
Let me Google the question.
That was it. There's a bunch of other ones. But it's going to be really cool.
I mean, like, churches have social work. And I was like, we need that. That's right.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But,
okay. Stay tuned, everyone, to see where she ends up.
Except probably not. I won't be coming on here to tell you all about my life.
I will work on that. Hopefully she comes back.
Oof.
Hopefully we talk
nervous.
more again. Oh, yeah, I already sweat through my shirt. Doesn't matter how many times I do this.
No.
Okay, before we wrap up here.
Yes.
I have asked you, what it is that fuels you as a social worker and where kind of you want to end up as a human being, as a God-connected woman. In general, what is it that fuels you? What fills your soul?
I really like cooking. I really enjoy it. And I feel like that's something that I've, like, tapped into with this past year. And just learning how to cook new things. I also enjoy running, even though, like, probably my brother's gonna be like, you don't even run. You don't even run anymore.
To us, you run.
Fake runner. But I do. And I haven't been as intentional right now about it, because I know it'll change my life. Like, it'll help my mental, it'll do all the things, mental health, physical health, but I'm not doing it right now. So.
It's there when you're ready.
Yeah. I also really, like, I love spending time with my family. I've been so privileged to, like, be able to spend all this time with my mom this past, like, year and a half, and just get to know her in a different way and develop our relationship even deeper, as well as, like, my dad and my brother, with friends as well. I also really like TV.
What are you watching right now?
I mean, nothing new. I'm watching The Rookie and rewatching The Rookie.
Okay.
A lot of, like, adrenaline pumping shows that leave me anxious. I start anxious, I leave anxious, and we don't need to dig into that right now.
That's for the next episode.
Yeah. Just kidding. I also honestly I watch the news. I'm a news watcher. Okay.
Wild. That's probably the most anxiety provoking thing you watch. I can't. I don't watch the news. I avoid the news. That's ignorance and also privilege, but I just can't. It stresses me out. The existentialism shoots through the roof.
I am on it. And honestly, I wish I had more channels that worked on my TV because I would really love to get all the news, all the different channels, but right now I'm on a KTLA 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I like TV. I like listening to music. Some of that singer-songwriter vibe.
Yeah.
I'm a romance girl.
You are. You
I
really
am.
are.
I'm wearing pink right now. I don't normally wear pink, but this is a perfect representation.
I'm not this dark on the inside.
No, you're not that dark on the inside.
But the pink, yeah, you could have the pink. It looks beautiful.
Like,
you rock pink.
no, we were talking. I went to a concert recently, and I was like, definitely music not up your alley. I'm like, this is sobbing, like talking about love.
Yeah.
Every day.
I'm glad you guys had fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. What else? And yeah, there's a lot.
All of those are amazing.
Call me if you want to know more.
I'll link her Instagram and her phone number in the bio. No, I won't
Actually,
do that.
just email me. That works best. I love a good email. I email people. But you, what fuels you?
I wasn't expecting you to ask that.
Let's do a turn. Also, jewelry. Okay, Jasmine and I, we
love it. We love it.
Vibe
with the jewelry, with the rings. I don't have all mine on right now, but Ange is always just on it when it comes to her bracelets and her rings. Love it. Always.
Love it. It's a great way to just express
it
stuff.
Is.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And you always have like rockin' rings and everything.
Thank you so much. I don't have any of my stone ones on right now, but I do love my rings. What fuels me? A lot of things also.
Yeah.
Tough
question, huh?
Right, just a little bit. Love to eat other people's cooking. Love to eat other friends' homemade cooking. Also music. Spending time with my family for sure, including you guys.
Yeah.
Spending time with people that just basically are family. So my family.
I feel safe.
Yes, you feel safe. I feel safe. It's just a connected feeling. I feel connected. Being outside.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to tell you. Guess what?
What?
Yesterday.
Like
okay,
nervous.
maybe I should wait till off camera. Guys,
we're gonna need to cut this part.
She's talking like she's not an athlete, but this woman is a runner. I'm talking like has broken records.
Okay, but
they don't know your
but
history.
But then you get into like, I feel like I'm on the outside of running world. You get into real running world, and I'm.
But then
just
each time you each time you take a step forward into anything, there's always another world on the inside. Okay.
Just trying to stay humble.
I know. Stay humble. That's why I can say it. You stay humble. I'll say it.
That was in high school.
Whatever. She's an athlete, okay? Which is why saying this on camera is slightly embarrassing for me. Yesterday and today, I ran a mile, full mile without stopping.
That's hard.
That I haven't done in a few years, honestly.
No, that's hard.
I was telling Yaya about it before because we were talking about how you are an athlete, and I was telling her how I ran, and I was like, oh, did you know Ange, this and that? But didn't stop once, both of the times.
That's amazing.
And I felt really great afterwards. And I was doing it like a 6 on the treadmill.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, who is she?
Elite level.
I won't say the time on here. That doesn't matter.
Were you wearing the ons?
Was game changer. Honestly, I really like them.
Not sponsored?
Not
Still
sponsored.
Don't have a pair? But you can sponsor.
Tell me why I bought them. And remember, I was keeping S posted. I'm like, these are horrible for day to day. Hated them for day to day. And I was like, let me try running in them.
But they have this little like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Running in them, I love them. Could I have just read what they were called and known that it was specific to running? Probably. Maybe. Did I do that? No. Anyway, physical movement is what fills me. So between that, connectedness, and being outside, Those will do it for me. Put them all in one day and the dopamine.
Oh, the beach.
Through the roof.
Love the beach. I just need to throw this out there for me, for my episode.
Beach. Long walks on the beach.
And we like I'm gonna say we like matcha.
We do love matcha. Ange also makes matcha. I'm telling you guys, I have all the great friends. Makes me food and matcha.
But I need to get the like wooden whisk. You know, the way that the
I thought you already. Oh no,
I use the.
That's right. That's right. Well, you're working up to it.
I'm working up to it.
I think
not ready
that,
to open up my shop yet.
I think you're there. I think you've reached that level.
Where you're often texting about different matchas from different places.
Which reminds me. All right, I'll tell you after
Okay.
this. Anyway, you're ready. I think you should go for it.
Catch us sipping on some matcha. That may or may not be good because it's a hit or
miss. Yeah. It's constantly an adventure. Catch us anywhere at any point drinking matcha due to wanting to try the matcha.
Yes.
Let me give you a pro tip. Don't add too much honey in the matcha.
Don't.
Doesn't do what you think it would. It's not worth it. Just put the syrup. Just add the vanilla.
Let's throw some reviews out.
Let's.
What is it? Mojo?
No.
Do not get the matcha.
It's not matcha.
Do not get the matcha.
Don't even know what to say that flavor was.
I want to get a Sharpie and
it's crossed off the list. Don't do it. We've saved you some time.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay, maybe we were just going to talk about Mojo because we're still processing other shops.
No, which was the one that I really didn't like at that place we went with S out in Redlands somewhere.
I have zero clue. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's called either.
I don't go there.
I am a fan of the Daily Brew matcha. You guys have seen me bring them on here a few times.
I don't know. I can't give you a review.
I thought you said you liked theirs.
No,
sometimes.
I know. I'm just saying.
We should have had some. I know. I agree, but they were closed because they said to close at 5 and just stay
and this
closed.
Is the host.
Daily Brews, I would say, is a good matcha.
Yeah.
I like their matcha. You need to try the honey matcha instead of the normal one.
I'll try it. Yeah. That's right. You do get that one.
Yes.
I actually don't really get matcha there.
Yeah.
I get their
I wish you were coming tomorrow.
I get their toast, their almond butter granola toast.
I get the avocado toast. I'm basic. I haven't tried that one. But it looks good when people get it. She is thick. All right, friend. Right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Love you. Makes me so happy that you're here.
I was hesitant.
Yeah.
Actually, this was scheduled months back.
She actually canceled because she said, I actually don't want to be there. No.
100%.
Well, she told me she was sick. But either way,
that was once we scheduled it. But I pushed this girl.
That's true.
I was like, ha ha ha.
Ha ha.
Funny.
Sure.
LOL, you want me on?
3 emojis. But you made it. She's here. Loved every moment of it. I'm happy you were down. Hopefully we'll come again on, maybe the whole walking club will come on together and you'll catch all 3 of us.
Yeah. Well, next time we'll talk about how Jasmine and I really got to know each other.
Yes.
What our relationship has been like.
Yes. Would love. That actually caused me more anxiety than this entire...
We could explore so many
We have
things.
a lot of ways to go. I'm blessed to have a few people in my life that I've known since like the 1st grade, and her and Esther are 2 of those people. So at some point that'll happen. But thank you guys so much for watching, listening. Souly Human, because I am currently doing a few different things. Episodes release every 1st Friday of the month on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So
yeah, we're just on the edge of our seats waiting for the drop.
YouTube. That's the other one. Yeah, every 4 weeks. You gotta do what you gotta do. But, dang it, I was gonna say something. I always get stuck at this part. Focus.
Like,
subscribe. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Comment.
Like, subscribe. And then, as a reminder, guys, when you're going into your day or you're going into your week, be empathetic with yourself the same way you would be someone that you love. Be patient with yourself. The way we talk to ourselves in our head is really important. So just, practice grace and love and patience with yourself. So we're all doing our best. All right, guys, talk to you later.
Bye.